Welcome to the definitive guide on how to scale your Facebook ad account and your business. We're going to cover why raising your budgets actually is going to really hurt your account, why you don't need to do that to scale your business, how to make all of this stuff happen on an automated basis, and the numbers you really need to be looking at. Hint, it's not ROAS. Hint, it's not MER. Those things don't matter. Let's get down to all of it. We're going to debunk a lot of lies that you've been told your entire life and actually give you the keys to success. So with that, I'm super excited. Let's go! Also, before we start, I just want to say thank you very much. I know you could be literally anywhere on the internet right now, and you chose to be here, and believe me, I know that, and I appreciate it. So thank you very much. Go ahead and ask questions if you have it. If you find value in this, share it with other people. And most importantly, subscribe, let other folks know. And if you need more advice, you need more tips, and this isn't enough for you, go to links.facebookdisruptor.com and you'll see an entire archive of a bunch of information to help you see more success and less stress. Let's dive into it. Raising budgets will hurt your ad account, especially when we're talking about consistency and efficiency. Now, why? Why is it when you raise your budgets, your performance drops? Well, it's actually really simple. It's because of the algebra that Facebook uses to determine what we get charged. The algorithm, it's very, very simple. There are three parts that go into determining how much you pay for a sale or a lead on Facebook. First is the budget. The more money you spend, the higher the cost. Number two is the estimated action rate. How desirable is your content for an end user for them to see, and ultimately how likely are they to want to engage with it? And number three is your advertiser score. Basically, the more money you want to spend, the higher you're going to have to pay to acquire each individual target action. But the better you are at making content that people want to see and the more engaging your content is, the lower you have to pay to get desired actions. And the better aligned you are with Facebook as a business to meeting their business objectives and not being a liability to the end user experience, the less your transactions are going to cost. So one of the things we have to understand is if you don't make better ads, or if you're continuing to focus on showing a bunch of ads to people that might not want to see them, or enforcing what we call bad impressions, or if you're not working on the quality of the user experience after they click, when they're on their site, after they've purchased from you, you are going to pay more money for every transaction. And if you don't fix points 2 and 3, that cost is going to continue to rise. And we're going to see that in rising CPMs across your account. If you're paying more than $20, $30, $40, $50 on CPMs right now, it almost assuredly means that you don't have your estimated action rate testing together yet. Your creative testing process isn't actually worrying about making the end user experience on Facebook better. And it means that there's a gap in your advertiser score. So you're not aligned with Facebook's business objectives. And that might be as simple as working on your customer service, making your site load better. There are a lot of things that go into that. And the more you ignore that side of it, instead just try to find the right ad that makes good success in the first few days and then force that out on a whole bunch of audiences of people who don't really care, i.e. going cost caps and lookalikes and interest groups, the more you're going to be focusing on trying to get a win today with hardcore DR, the harder it's going to be for you to actually scale your business in a projectable, manageable way. And ultimately, the more unlikely your achieving of the potential that you deserve is. At the end of the day, do you want to have a really good $100 day, $500 day, $2,000 day today, and maybe 2-3x it in the next day or so? Do you want to take your $1,000 ad account and scale to $3,500? Or would you rather have your $1,000 ad account spend $5,000 a day every single day? That's a really different conversation. Now, one of those is you can set the house on fire and scale to the moon today. And this is often what we see ad agencies and elite marketers and all of that stuff talk about, because they don't care about the business and they're very motivated on where they're coming from, which makes sense, right? Especially when you make a commission on ad spend, you'd want to spend as much as possible. Who cares about getting more efficient? It's about spending money because that's what pays your bottom line. That's why when you take advice from somebody that works in an ad agency about how to scale the results in an account, you have to understand that their business objective has nothing to do with your business objective and is actually creating greater amount of instability that is less sustainable and less projectable and puts the future of your business at risk. So instead, let's focus on the other two factors of that equation. Instead of scaling budget, let's work on the other pieces of scaling results by making our sales more efficient. The honest truth is, it's much easier to reduce your CPA by 10% than it is to maintain the same CPA while raising your budget 10%. If you're getting sales for, say, $10 and you're spending, say, $1,000, and you're getting 100 sales a day, for the purpose of this conversation, it is much easier for you to get your average cost down to $9 and thus grow your business by getting over like an extra 10 sales a day, an extra large amount, potentially 100 sales over the period of time, raising your overall performance by 10%. Way easier to do than to maintain that $10 CPA and getting an extra sale by pushing it to $1,100, where theoretically you get an extra 10 sales, but are you? The odds are heavily stacked in your favor if you are trying to reduce your average cost of advertising to maintain a stable scale in your business. The odds are stacked against you if you're not working on that and instead try to move the needle by spending more money, but not fixing the other issues. Also, for those of you that aren't necessarily totally aware, because I sure as hell wasn't when I was running ad agencies, it's also way more financially viable for the business to be more efficient than to have to put out the cash flow to scale the business while maintaining that efficiency. Ask any business owner. Cash flow is king. And if you can maintain cash flow and scale the overall business growth without having to introduce greater resources to do it, that is infinitely more desirable and powerful to the business than maintaining efficiency and just spending more. One of those is way better. One of those is way more sustainable. One of those is actually compounding positive. The other one is spending more money. So let's get down to, in a very quick moment, understanding what the other pieces are. If you can start to test for estimated action rate, and that's what we talk about in Golden Bear testing inside the Facebook Ads MBA program all the time. That's one of the core elements. Now, to be fair, you've been taught how to do this by Facebook for years. They've been pushing this on you forever. What is hurting your estimated action rate? Using lookalikes, cost caps, trying to do manual bidding, a bunch of interest groups, forcing your ads on a wide variety of audiences where those people may or may not care, but you're paying a premium to reach them and actually preventing your ad from being seen by the people that it would actually probably do a lot better against. Because remember, what you're doing when you are using targeting audiences, detailed targeting, etc., which, by the way, Facebook has been trying to tell you for years to give up, and they've been aggressively pushing that, deprecating interest groups by the thousands on a regular basis. The other side of this that we're getting to is what you are doing. Every ad is actually a web page. Facebook is measuring the click-through rate, the bounce rate, the stickiness of that web page. And then Facebook is out there saying, well, who else can respond positively to this? Legitimately, every ad is effectively making its own lookalike audience because Facebook is trying to see, just like organic reach with your Reels and your TikTok, who else wants to see this? The only difference is you're paying for that reach instead of earning it like you would on a creative, on a content, on an organic side. But the algorithm is literally the exact same because it's all based around the optimized CPM environment. And that's what Facebook innovated, which made it completely different than email, completely different than search, completely different than display and native and programmatic, which is why when you're trying to focus on using audiences and funnel hacking and all this other stuff, what you're really doing is saying, I either don't understand your business and I don't care, or I do understand your business, but instead I'm going to try to disrespect your end user for profit. Because ultimately, it is a luxury for you to be able to use the Facebook algorithm to reach potential new customers and turn the volume up on your business. But if you disrespect Facebook's business practices of giving people a positive experience by letting Facebook show them content they want to see, you're going to be taxed out of doing business because you are a liability to their bottom line. So instead, remember, every ad is actually a post ID. That post ID is actually a web page, and you are promoting that web page, and Facebook's going to find who else wants to see this web page. Remember, the Facebook news feed is actually just a list of web pages shown in order. It's the same thing as a Google search result, but it's rich media. So the point here is, when you let that ad see whoever it wants to, whoever Facebook thinks is going to positively respond to that, you're going to see a better and better estimated action rate on your ads. Now, when you get better and better estimated action rate on your ads, what happens? You get lower and lower CPMs. And ultimately, what that means is, too, you're going to pay less and less money to acquire each individual sale. Now, I hear a lot of you say, well, broad doesn't work nearly as well as the lookalike. And you know what? You're right. But it can spend 10 times more. And if you took away that lookalike and stopped letting it steal all the low-hanging fruit, imagine how much better that broad would be. And you say, well, I'm using a lot of retargeting because it gets me a really great result. Awesome. At 2, 3, 4, 5 times the CPM, raising your average CPM across your entire account, making your prospecting way dumber because it can't see anybody at the bottom of the funnel. And you're spending more and more money trying to force people to buy instead of growing the size of the pie of the people that are maybe interested in your business. So while you're getting a better ROAS on Facebook, you're actually hurting incremental growth to make your prospecting dumber and make your overall cost of advertising rise every single month, every single year. That's part of the reason why you're paying way more money, because you're not actually algorithmically aligned with what the Facebook platform is asking from you. And they've been screaming it from the mountaintop since we in the disruptor group developed the Power 5 4 years ago. And the system has not changed. If anybody tells you the Facebook algorithm is changing all the time, it means they fundamentally don't understand how Facebook ads work, because it hasn't. That is an objective fact. Now, the other side of this is the third element, which is your advertiser score. How do we improve that? Well, delete bad comments. Improve your customer service. Make your website more desirable. Make it so when people see your ads, they click on them potentially, then they go back to Facebook and they're continuing to bounce around. If people go to your website and then just never come back to Facebook because you pissed them off, you're a liability to their bottom line. So ultimately, you can think of it as, how do I separate somebody from their money? And you know what? You're going to be okay in this short view. Today might be better than yesterday. You might be able to go from 100 to 1,000 today. But if instead you gave a damn about Facebook's business model and about your end customers, because they're real people, and focused on their quality of the experience on the platform and their relationship with you as a business, ultimately, that 1,000 that you're super stoked on having can be 1/3, 1/10, 100th of your normal everyday daily spend. And believe me, I've grown more than a few businesses into the 9-figure range, taking brands from $300, $400, $500 a day to $30, $50, $100,000 a day. I've been doing that for years, and it's a repeatable process. And that's what I teach in the MBA program. But my biggest point here is to teach you is, instead of trying to scale your results by spending more money, scale your results by being better at your job. Make the factory better. Don't just add working hours for your employees, and you're going to have a far more sustainable piece to your business, which ultimately is going to lend us into the next piece. But the last thing I wanted to cover on this is something to remember very, very distinctly. And if you learn nothing other than this today, this is what I really want you to hear. The more data you put into a single place, the smarter that place is going to be. The more complicated the machine, the harder it is to be able to understand what's working and what's not. So your number one objective when working as a Facebook marketer is ultimately to think like a banker and think like a scientist. The more moving parts you have, the worse your ad account is ultimately going to be. So you don't need more than broad, because it is doing the prospecting and your retargeting and your retention. And if you only have 1 or 2 ad sets, and all of your money is going to those 1 or 2 ad sets, and they last for months or years, that means the money you spend today is going to make the money you spend in 6 months smarter. Instead of turning ad sets on and off constantly, doing all this stuff and basically firing employees on a regular basis and pretending like that means you're going to have any success in business, but you're not.